Hi all, today we're looking at auto air vents. How to clean them out, how to stop them leaking, things like that. Right, the first thing to know is there's no auto air vent made that you can't just cap off with a cap at the top. They look like this. There's three different types basically. There's this one, there's the one with a red cap in the centre, or a cap in the centre, which is taller and slimmer. And then there's one which has got a little black Allen key, or a little black Allen bolt in the side, and a very small offset little sort of knurled screw in plastic to close down. So a bit like this, except that in the side there's a little Allen key in plastic. I'm hesitating slightly because that's come to say hello. Right, what we're doing then. They all work the same. Basically what it is there's a little float in here. And the idea, like a carburettor, it floats up and down and it blocks off the water flow. When this gets full of air, the float drops, and then obviously it then lets the water in, the air comes out the top here, and off you go. Thanks, Puss. Right, so these can all be stopped with the little cap at the top. That's the idea. Okay, to work on one of these, you're going to have to take it apart, and to do that, you're going to have to take it out of the system. Now, most of these will be sitting on an automatic closing valve, like this. Now, you need to make sure this is what you've got, and you're not undoing it out of something like a half-inch female iron. You can usually tell because you see the side of it. It's not like a half-inch female iron would usually be. It's almost a hexagonal nut, and also you see there's a little rubber ring in there. The idea, I say the idea, I'll show you the problem in a minute. The idea is that what you can do is you can leave the system sort of full, and you can unwind this, and as it comes out, that will block, this little spring-loaded widget will block the water flow coming out. Now I say in theory because if you look, if the moment, so look, that's just touching at the moment, and the moment it catches the first thread, it starts to open. So it basically means you've got full water, well not full, you've got water flow to this until it actually comes off. So you've got to be pretty brave to try this, because quite often what will happen is you'll be at this point, it'll be going and blowing out everywhere, until you then got to then basically just wind it off and pray that that actually holds. They don't always, and also pray that you haven't got a half-inch male iron rather than an automatic block-off device. But if it looks like that, you're probably in a good position. If you wind it up a little bit and see there's an O-ring, you can be pretty sure. Someone may have taken the guts out earlier on, but still, there is the disadvantage. You may find that unfortunately this O-ring may try and jump out if you start to undo it and the water flow comes out. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about that. So you've got to be a bit brave to undo that from the system, to undo it from one of those, but it can be done, and most are sitting on one of those because they kind of come with it. Okay, so what lives inside one of these? Well, they're a bit of a pig to undo usually, but a set of grips on that and a set of grips on that, and out it comes. Now your problem, that will be full of garbage, by the way, so that will need to be cleared out. But the problem is this. Now these floats don't usually cause a problem. I've never actually found one that's full of water, but what you can do is you can give it a little shake to check. But look, this is where your problem is this little spring-loaded pin here gets muck underneath it. Now the way to get these out, what you do is if you push to one side, like that, hang on, kind of tricky while hiding behind a camera. Actually, probably the easiest thing to do is to lift it over the top like that, split it slightly to lift it over the top. You can then push in, push out. Now I think these are actually solid, but anyway, give it a shake to check it's not full of water. Feel free to throw it in a cup of water to check it still actually floats. And then here we go. Right, this is a little spring-loaded bobbins that sits down on a seat. Now my usual, because it goes down onto a little rubber seat, you can tell by pushing, my usual deal with these really is to get the kitchen tap involved, because whatever muck is sitting on there is usually quite thin and quite fragile. So just by sort of pressing with your thumbnail and that sort of thing to get the muck out of there, because remember that's usually only closed by the little spring pressure like that. So if you can kind of get it, and as soon as you've flexed whatever's in the seat, it tends to break apart and come out. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't always work, but usually that's worked for me. And you can actually see it's actually a little baby O-ring down there, and you can get in there with a little bit of twig or a little bit of pointed stick, you know, make sure it's nothing too sharp, and you can get the muck out of that. But usually, to be fair, by running a tap in here, you'll find that this is usually, you know, full of muck. The other thing to do is to lift the pointer, lift it up, and get the muck off the seat. So if you can see that, get the muck off the seat of the actual plunger, mushroom, I don't know what you call it. And you can do that. You can turn it between your fingers while putting something in the way, and it'll just scrape off all the muck there. This isn't ideal. I mean, these aren't expensive to replace, but look, if you've got one, you're at home, you want to try, you've got nothing else, there you go. Putting it back together is a bit interesting, because what you've got to do is it goes like that. You see? You've got to flip that over on itself. So we'll do the same thing again. We'll put it in without actually connecting it. So we'll put that in place there, and then what we'll do is we'll slip it down, clips over, close it up, and there we go. And then what you need to do, put it in that way up. Now what I do to check these is to loosen that off, turn it that way up and blow down it. Now what that should be is it should be blocked, because then the float is right up, isn't it? So the float is hard down against that. So that way, fine. Turn it the other way up and blow, and the air should then pass through it. So that's a fairly good way of checking to see whether it leaks or not. Blow, shouldn't go through. Blow, it will go through. Okay, the little one with the red centre is fairly similar. There is another one, which is the one with the little aluminium, the little plastic Allen key here. That does not come apart. Well, it does, but not easily. So it's got a little plastic Allen key stub in here. Now what you do with those is you undo the Allen key. I'm afraid this is where I get back to going to theory again. And what lives inside is a little widget, a little spring like that, and then, hang on, a little spring like that, then a little peg with a little cap on it, and a little sort of mushroom thing basically. So hang on, I'll continue that spring on. So basically what you've got is your little Allen key head here. So that's the Allen key bit that you put your Allen key in there, like that. You take that out, and then you're left with this spring type arrangement. What you do then is you just basically carefully bend the spring apart, because the seating part hides inside it. So what you do is you'll find that there's a little sort of exit way here, and a little rubber mushroom headed jobby sitting in the middle. And all you need to do is just bend the spring slightly apart away like that, so that you can see the edge, the head of this, and that's always covered in muck. That or that is covered in mud, and they're never thickly covered in mud. We really are talking, you know, there's not much pressure on these. There's not much sort of, you know, not much force to close them. So, you know, it doesn't take much to make them leak. So anyway, what you're doing is you're cleaning that. Now, this may look stupid to you, this may not seem like enough information, but what I'll do now is I'll show you the way to get it back together. Basically, the way this works is that little float has a hook on it, and it hangs on the end of that spring. So imagine in there, if that went in the side there, it would poke in halfway, and the float hangs on it there. So what happens is when water level falls, whoop, that pulls down, that actually bends that spring, separates those two, which is what you were doing when you were cleaning it out. That's why it's okay to do it. So it just bends that spring down and away, and what that does is it then separates it, let the air out, the water comes up, and the float rises. So okay, the way to put this back together is because obviously you take that out, you can't then bend the spring to put it in. So what you do is you get your AAV, auto air vent, you turn it upside down, so then the float has then dropped down the right way. You put your Allen key back in, tighten it up, don't need to go too tight, and then turn it the right way up again. Same thing again, you check it by blowing on it, blowing through it that way, should flow. Blowing through it that way, it won't flow. So there we are, there's not much more to it than that, I'm afraid. I mean, as I say, you're gonna have to it's gonna be fun playing with those, because you need a fair set of, I mean, I've unwound a few of these, and you really halfway unwinding it. I mean, especially if you've got 2 bar on a pressurized system behind it, especially when it's scorching hot, you're thinking, oh lordy, is this actually going to seal when I take it off, or have I got a 15mm hole pouring 2 bar water out? But yeah, look. So look, there's a lot of water coming out at this point. You know what I mean? Especially it's still not sealed there. So yeah, look. So it's kind of sealed there, and you've got like what, a turn. Anyway, good luck with it, guys. But yeah, look, if you're nervous, if you're concerned, literally let the air come out and tighten your little cap nut down, and forget about the fact that that doesn't work. There we are, guys. Cheers for now.